Hey everyone, this is Tom Salemi of DeviceTalks. I'm here with Abby Hunter-Syed. She's the head of Olympus Ventures. Abby, thanks for joining us at DeviceTalks.
Thanks so much for having me.
So this is an interesting time within MedTech, and for once, it's really not an internal development that's making it interesting. We're seeing a lot of changes at the FDA. We're seeing a lot of new pressures being put on tariffs that no one can quite unpack or define. And I've been wondering, VCs really need to know the rules of a game in order to invest wisely. How has all this new uncertainty, and I think even the uncertainty is uncertain because you don't know if it's going to become certain and then uncertain again. How does that impact your approach as a VC in investing in startups?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating, right? Because that's what venture capitalists are supposed to be masters of, is understanding where there's uncertainty, where there's risk, and then how you can mitigate against that.
Yeah.
But when the rules of the game are changing so dramatically, so rapidly, that instability automatically leads you to think like, okay, I need to hold my position versus expand across it, right? And so I think it's one of the main things that I see VCs across the landscape doing, which is I need to hold more in reserve in order to support the portfolio that I already have.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of thinking about diversifying that portfolio or bridging out and funding more things, because you just don't know what the road ahead for your existing portfolio is. And so I think that that's one of the things that we've definitely seen across the landscape at the moment is in the face of instability, we're holding closer to core and making sure that we've got the reserves there to support the companies that we've already invested in.
So backing up a bit, what is your charter at Olympus Ventures? Are you investing to acquire? Are you investing for ROI? I think both is probably the answer, but how is your success measured?
Yeah, so Olympus Innovation Ventures, we invest in medical devices, diagnostics, and digital health tools that complement or extend where all of our market-leading endoscopic solutions are. And so when we look at results and what we're looking for out of OIV, is we're really looking at the 10-year time horizon. What's going to move the needle in endoscopy? And so we both measure investment returns and M&A as our two top KPIs that we're looking to hopefully generate results and value both for the industry and for Olympus.
So you're not looking for a lot of shots on net necessarily, backing a lot of companies just to get a sense of what's out there. Your companies need to perform as investments. So how is your process of doing a due diligence and evaluating those companies changed, especially with things like tariffs and again the uncertainty of the FDA? Like, are you looking at where these products may be made? Are you looking at, what has your review process changed at all for new investments?
I mean, I think that macro lens has to come into everybody's diligence process, right? Like when you've got a really complex device that's manufactured in pieces across the globe,
right?
It's going to impact everyone, right? And so it's one of those things that we're trying to figure out candidly in real time. How do we measure that? Because everybody's exposed to it. It just depends on how much exposure is there. And then is there things that you can be done to mitigate against that, especially leveraging the expertise and the insights of having somebody like Olympus as a backer? Can we bring that unique value add to the table to help mitigate some of that risk from a device perspective?
Interesting. So looking at the FDA again, you need to know how many hoops your company needs to jump through, how high they are, how big they are. From your perspective as a VC, do you have a as good a sense of those things as you did 3 or 4 months ago?
High level, no.
Yeah.
But I think that the FDA has always kind of been a moving benchmark.
Fair point. Yeah.
You knew where they were going and what they wanted, but it always depended on who's the reviewer. How well do they know this space? Is this a brand new technology? What are they going to look for from a biocompatibility perspective? There's so many different elements to it that can always fluctuate or change. And so some degree of uncertainty has always been measured into the diligence process as you're thinking about what these companies are going to have to go through. And part of it is just hearing back from the companies, what are they getting from the FDA? I think the unique piece of it today is that FDA division might be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that is just a whole new level that I think companies and venture capitalists just haven't seen before, at least in my in my life cycle as a VC so far.
Mine either, as a journalist covering the area. So last question, just for startups who are watching this and wondering, what do I have to do to convince Olympus to at least look at us and possibly invest? What are you looking at from startups, and well, I'm going to ask another question. So forget the whole last question part. What are you looking for in startups? What are some things they can tell you that will at least continue the conversation and get some additional meetings?
Yeah, I think we're always looking at team, right? And especially in the face of such uncertainty like we're facing today, that team becomes an even higher component in this, and that how transparent are they going to be with you on which hurdles are coming up? How open are they going to be about the challenges that they're facing internally that we may be able to help with? Do they have the right advisors around the table to assist them with that? Are they thinking about things in an iterative way? Are they planning in multiple scenarios? And so there's so many things that are just, people at the end of the day that I think this increases importance of from my lens.
That's interesting. So there's always been sort of a scale, like teams versus tech. And most people will not invest in a bad tech with a good team or a good team with a bad tech. But it seems from your point, like the team part is starting to weigh down a little more, because you need to know those companies can react and can respond.
Absolutely.
Final question. This will actually be my final question. As a corporate investor, do you feel any sense of greater responsibility sort of being out there and investing in companies? And I know you have to invest wisely, but there are still VC firms out there, not as many as there used to be. Angel investors, I bet, are going to become fewer and fewer. How do you see Olympus's role playing in the financing of startups in the future?
Yeah, I think that we're a critical piece of this ecosystem, right? I was just looking at some evidence the other day where it's something like 60% of companies that get acquired in this space had a strategic investor on board, right? And so we're this critical traction point for early stage companies who are looking to build really unique devices, really unique therapies that hopefully can improve patients' lives. And so I think that role doesn't diminish at all. If anything, I think it just continues to grow, especially when there is such uncertainty or instability in the funding environment from LPs. But even big companies, we're facing those same exact challenges that startups are.
Yep, very true.
And so it's a little bit of chicken or the egg, and that we are depending on the startups to be innovative and to grow in order to help the ecosystem as a whole grow. And those startups are depending on us to help fund, to encourage innovation and so much more. And so, I think we really do depend so much on each other and working well together. And hopefully, those humans that I was talking about from a team perspective, we're all humans at the end of the day. And so working together in order to solve these problems and hopefully create greater, better stability for us all in the future is hopefully where it's going.
Hopefully. Oh, well, great. Well, thank you so much for this this sense of where we are and possibly where we're headed in the future of financing.
Thanks so much for having me, Tom. And DeviceTalks, this is absolutely brilliant what you've created here. Thank you for including me.
Thank you so much.